Vamos agora reagir aqui. I Build the Dream Smart Garden. É um homem que fez aqui um jardim todo XPTO. E vamos ver aqui, depois temos outro para ver que também é uma cena de casa. Neste caso é tipo o género de um estúdio. Portanto, vamos lá ver. Aqui primeiro I Build the Dream Smart Garden. Siga, siga. Também é fixe para tirar ideias porque vou ter de fazer o meu jardim agora muito em breve.
Okay, so let's start with audio. So the thing with outdoor sound is it's very easy to just stick one massive speaker in the back of your garden and your neighbors are going to hate you. But if we instead went for many smaller speakers, then when you're sitting outside, everyone is going to be close to a sound source, but that sound source doesn't need to be loud, so it won't disturb anyone else. So we've been recommended this company called Ambisonic. Oh, they really are beautiful.
I was about to say, I don't know where the speakers are.
Whoa. Burial speaker, that sounds morbid. We're going to get a combination of the different types of speakers, and then ideally we just bury some subwoofers.
Sei que podiam dar sponsor à minha cena de lá de fora, ou não?
And the reason you can actually do that with a subwoofer is because the low bass notes, they're not very directional. You know when you're listening to high notes and mid notes, you need that music to be fired directly into your ear. Whereas for bass, you just need to stick a subwoofer somewhere in your vicinity and you will feel it. So I feel like the main place where all our tech is going to go is the entertainment area. We're basically carving out a sunken
hoje vamos ver mais
area
este
in the
vídeo e
garden
outro que eu
to
tinha
have
aqui
a hot
preparado,
tub
mas depois
and
podes
fire
mandar,
pit.
claro, até tenho lá uma aba no Discord para me mandar.
So we want to make it as inviting as possible.
Oh, so the actual jacuzzi company does a 19-foot jacuzzi.
Basically a swimming pool at that point.
We'd probably maximize the space if we get a smaller hot tub and a bigger fire pit. The new JLX collection. The way they light up the water makes it the most inviting void that you just want to jump into. Holy cow. This one looks even better. It's got 55 jets compared to 39 on the other one. And a rolling back massage. What even? So then, we have to make a decision on this fire pit. There's a number of different options you can choose when going for a fire pit. You either get gas, you get wood, or you go bioethanol.
With bioethanol, you get less heat, but it's way cleaner.
Yeah, so there's no soot, there's no ash, and it's just using renewable plant byproducts as well. I'd feel better about it.
Mas na teoria eu acho que é mais caro a cena. Também não está preocupado com isto, que estes valores estão a gastar, né?
If it's going to be the entertaining area.
Oh.
I like the lowness of it.
Yeah. Also unrestricted view to the people around you and the environment.
Okay, so then what else do people have in a garden? Barbecue?
Barbecue. Is that a plank of salt?
That's a plank of salt. So this is an electric barbecue.
Wait, it says by Heston. Oh, the chef.
So this is your favorite chef?
He's cool. I definitely like him. He's the kind of guy who he's quite famous for presenting.
Ei, não me vais meter barbecue desses aí, mano. Então, estás-me a fazer jardim todo maluco, vais meter esse barbecue.
The 4K is the next level.
Ou vão-te oferecer, mano. Foda-se, mano, está tudo incrível e de nada vamos com este barbecue assim simples. Acredito que seja incrível, mano, não tenho dúvida. Depois dá para fazer pizzas e o caralho, estou a perceber.
Oh, I love the idea.
Obrigadão, Malfest, obrigadão pela raid. Espero que a tua live tenha corrido incrível, mano. Muito obrigado, mano. Sejam todos bem-vindos. Estamos aqui a dar reacts aqui a uns vídeos. Vamos a ver aqui um vídeo de fazerem jardim.
Bubbles come up through the middle and then the water tips around the edges.
And it's got a light inside.
Yeah, it's gonna
lighting and water feature in one. Now we need heat outside.
Oh, that's adorable. Oh, that one's pretty. The design is interesting. The automatic tilt over protection disconnects the power if it tilts to one side.
Really good. That is safe.
It's kind of ironic that we're building a fire pit, but the heat actually comes from this. I feel like the one thing that would complete this is...
Já está no UK, né? Tu nem Libras tem que estar no UK.
Okay, so there's a company called Sunbright who specifically designed TVs for outdoor. Very expensive for a 75-inch screen. Okay, so it's still saying that this is designed for shaded outdoor spaces.
Yeah, given where we are, because we're so high up, we're going to get sun all day.
So I think even that will probably be washed out.
Oh, Samsung do outdoor TVs.
You'd have to have an exceptional level of brightness. Oh, 2000 nits. But it's not just brightness. The other part of this is the anti-reflections. And if they've done anything like as good of a job on that as they have their phone, it'll make a massive difference to visibility.
Yeah, look at this image. You can actually, like, if this is the difference, that is massive.
It's what Samsung tells you is the difference.
We did say we wanted something outdoors where we can play a few games as well. And I
Mas
found
eles têm grande pátio, mano. Tem que ter grande pátio, olha a quantidade de cenas. Ei, isto é brutal, mano.
You're literally the best.
Ei, isto é brutal, caralho. Não, isto eu não tinha visto, mano. Nem sequer sabia que existia, mano. Isto é brutal, mano. Uma mesa lá de fora, que é bilhar e ping-pong e o caralho tudo na mesma cena, mano.
Looks like it has all of those things, but is actually a really nice table as
Mas
it
chove
is.
aqui
I
não
feel like
rebenta
those
isto tudo, mano.
multi-game tables look really cheap.
Oh, lighting.
And if we're going to have Philips Hue lights inside, it's kind of cool to have them outside too.
The ability to just change the theme with one click.
Pois
All
deve,
of your lights
pois
change
deve,
around
mano.
you.
Acho que
What I
deve.
actually particularly like
Espero que já à
about these
vontade
themes
quando
as
ele falar do
well
preço
is that they
daquilo.
don't
Não sei se vai
just set
falar, mano.
every light in your garden to the exact same shade. It's like a curated selection of shades that creates a vibe. I think we basically just want to get a lot of these standard GU10 bulbs and fit them all across. I think we need 50 bulbs. It took about 2 months to get and to fully integrate all of these products, not least because we had to put up an entire scaffold just to get the hot tub into here by crane. It was a whole thing.
Mano, 2 meses estou à procura de um gajo para me fazer um muro e não consigo arranjar, mano. Foda-se, até foi rápido, mano.
Is the dream garden. There's garden gadgets and tech hidden everywhere here, which I have now tested. So this is my least favorite to my most favorite thing here. And with every single thing we test, we will turn it on and we will keep adding to this setup. So let's start with the only thing here that if we were to do this whole thing again, we would probably do differently. The fire pit. Because as you saw, we went for bioethanol.
Obrigadão, Malfest. Grande abraço.
There's
Bom
no
descanso.
plumbing, there's no electronics. Really? This is a tub. So, you know, there's zero setup. And you get a very clean fire with no pollutants. We chose this because we've got one of these bioethanol fires in our living room, and that one is amazing. But here's the problem. Let me actually light it right now to show you. So we open up the lid, you stick the tip of this rod in, get it a little bit wet with the bioethanol on the inside, and then you light that before lowering that back into the fire pit and starting the whole thing. Can you see the issue? The fire is on. It's just that bioethanol does not translate nearly as well to the outdoors. Because this is where you're not as worried about pollutants, since you're not trapped in a small room with the fire, and it's also where you really want your fire to be very bright and very hot. Neither of which this is, just because bioethanol is not the most energy-dense substance. So if it's a cold
vai ser
winter
melhor
night,
aquela
then
cena tipo
sitting around
madeira,
this
né?
isn't going to offer you much extra comfort. Hence these heaters, which have been everything we expected them to be, by the way. So I'd give the fire pit a 7 out of 10. It still sets the mood. The fire does pick up a bit over time. It's a great coffee table. But if you were ever to do one of these for yourself, I would recommend you go for a gas fire. The only other thing that isn't quite what I hoped it would be is something we keep on a separate level. This is just outside the house. It is the Crucible games table. I mean, the thing is, just look at this thing. It's a table tennis table on the top, but then also it's a pool table underneath, and a very functional one at that. It's spacious, the
Quanto é que
balls
custa
don't
isto?
drift. You can
A gente já vai
very
ver depois no final do
comfortably
vídeo
play a
quanto é
game
que custa
here.
isto.
You know what? The best bit? If I put a little upward pressure on this seat, there is an actual gas pump hinge on the inside, which means it basically does the lifting for you to reveal everything you need
completamente
to use the
brutal.
table stored
Mas
inside.
será que não chove aqui
Yes,
dentro?
please.
Será que se
If
tiver a
this
chover
functionality
torrencial não
didn't
fica aquilo
already
tudo
exist in the
encharcado,
table,
mano?
you probably know me at this point. It is exactly the kind of thing I would have been trying to build into the table. So thank you.
Mas é um bilhete tipo meio de brincadeira, né? Mas
We
é
can edit
fixe.
that out, can't we? I was focusing on presenting, okay? Now, the problem is there's actually a pretty large sacrifice that you have to make to also make all of this functionality weatherproof. For example, when you're playing pool, because they can't use proper pool table cloth, they've got a different, thinner weatherproof fabric on here. You can hear this metallic rolling of the balls. But also, they've made this top layer out of aluminium, which is great for the weather, but it's really horrible and cold to the touch in winter, and then it can burn you in the summer. All finished off by the fact that as a surface for table tennis, it just sounds pretty horrible and clangy. So I still don't think you can get better than this for an outdoor games table. It's just, there are compromises. 7 out of 10.
É ver o preço, mano. O gajo também é, mano, eu acho que é fixe, mano. Ah, faz um barulho um bocado de chapa, pá, que se foda. Fica demasiado quente ou demasiado frio. Metes uma toalha em cima, né? Pá, acho que é um bocado por aí. Também o gajo, mas o gajo também está a avaliar, provavelmente pela guita que gastou e tudo mais, e faz sentido.
Menthol Everdur 4K. Think of this just like a very
Mas é tudo à prova d'água, é brutal.
So, you put your charcoal on the inside, you put your food on top, and then instead of messing around with fire starters and matches, this has an electric burner built in, which means you just tap this one button, and that does the lighting of the coal and the general heating on the inside. And do you remember that celebrity tech video we did a while back, where my main conclusion was that celebrities should probably just stick to their day jobs? Well, you know what, Mr. Blumenthal, I take it back. Just for you. This is very clever design. So look, all accessories like the handle that you can use to take this basket out to wash it, they're stored in the cooker itself. The pizza stone holds on the back. The power cord is retractable. You just give it a tug and it goes right back in. And you can even drop charcoal in from the sides while cooking so that you don't need to take the grills off the top. Not to mention that unlike a normal Barbie, where
Afinal, esta merda é brutal.
here you can control the exact temperature
No site parecia mais
Actually
podre.
smells so good. The thing's even got built-in meat probes that let you see the temperature on the Heston Blumenthal app. We have tested this, we have tasted this, and my goodness, it is a treat. So I would call this an 8.5 out of 10. The only caveat just being that it is also a lot more expensive than a normal barbecue. But I think we got particularly lucky with that water feature over there. I feel like these things just take you somewhere else.
Mano, isto é brutal. Eu não sei quanto é que custa isto, mas isto é brutal.
Is the water. You barely see the glass, so it just looks like
É preciso tirar ideias daqui.
You hear enough trickling that it sounds pleasant.
Foda-se,
So
mano.
much that it sounds like something's leaking, and the light inside makes it such a vibe at night instead of, you know, disappearing.
Adorei esta merda, caralho. Não sei quanto é que custa essas bolas, mano, mas adorei.
While they might look like weightless bubbles, they certainly don't feel like them. It was a three-man job just getting this thing up here. Oh, and actually, sausages are looking good. Look at those grill lines. I'm so far yet to achieve that with a normal barbecue. Oh, do you know, while we have tested all of these products individually, this video is actually the first time that we're turning everything on together. So it's kind of surreal. And now, the Samsung Terrace TV has actually ended up being an even higher tier product. The last time we had a TV outside was when we built our biggest iPhone and tried to wheel it around central London. And doing that made it very clear to us how difficult it is to pull this off. Normal TVs don't have the brightness for this, and any exposure to
Por acaso está a saber mesmo bem, mesmo bem.
As an example, some of the plastic on our big iPhone actually started warping thanks to the heat from the sun. We also had to pick the perfect second to film our shots in the small moments where you could actually see the screen clearly, which just makes it all the more impressive that you don't need to think about any of that here. You turn it on and instantly it is so
Também não está a bater sol
bright,
direto, mas mesmo assim, mano.
that the thing comes in means that it's another one of those outdoor products where the technical recommendation is, yes, you should cover it up the second you finish using it, but one that's actually resistant enough that it will probably be fine even if you don't. I feel confident enough that I can give the remote a good swirl around. This is an IP56 remote, and you can just do that. I would not do that unless I was absolutely sure it was going to be fine. But what I think is the single most impressive thing about this
Foda-se, mano, grande cena. Deve custar para aí 10 capas ou 15 capas a televisão, não é para fazer isto, mas...
that outdoor TVs usually
brutal.
have pretty terrible contrast because their focus is just on cranking the brightness as high as it can go. Not here. They quite often have massive input lag because no one's ever really using these things for gaming, but that is not an issue here either. It is such an impressive piece of kit, honestly. So, 10 out of 10, right? Well, just like the Everjaw, the only thing that I would say holds it back is the price. It's a very good product, but you do pay about 3 times the price of an equivalently spec'd indoor TV, just because this is very expensive to pull off and it's very niche. So Samsung probably isn't getting a lot of economies of scale. 9.5 out of 10.
Brutal a TV, mano. Pá, para mim eu acho que um projetor resolvia. Claro que não dá para usar durante o dia, os projetores não têm brilho suficiente para dar para usar durante o dia perfeito, mas já dá para aquele final de tarde. Eu já tive, por exemplo, com um projetor aí muito podre, que é um projetor aí, sei lá, da Timo, da AliExpress, primeiro do género, uma cena tipo 50 paus. Eu tenho aí e olha, já fizemos a festa a ver aí cenas aí fora quando eu estava aí com o Ruben, portanto.
Completely different when the lighting comes on. Now, one Achilles heel of that Samsung TV is the speakers aren't the best, but that's where these things come in. So, let's talk speakers.
Estas cenas são brutais, nem dá para perceber que são colunas. Se calhar vocês não ficam tão hyped como eu de estar a ver estas merdas, mano. Mas eu que tenho mesmo agora digamos, um jardim para construir, é incrível estar a ver isto. E depois ficamos tristes e lembramos que estamos em Portugal e que não ganhamos, sabe, 200 mil euros por mês, né? Como o gajo para poder estar a fazer uma cena deste estilo. É tudo bom e do melhor, venha! Como diz o Ruben, venha, venha, venha! É foda.
You're very likely to all be clustered around quite a small area here. And all 3 of those things means that this is the perfect place to use very directional speakers. So all of these speakers, they fire out sound in really narrow cones. So from here all the way to about here, the music is super clear. But as soon as I take further steps out of that, the volume drops off very quickly. It's kind of trippy. And then to aid these directional speakers, we've also planted a subwoofer on each end of the row.
É brutal. Olha lá para a pausa do subwoofer, mano. Vocês nunca na vida diriam que aquela merda é um subwoofer.
This space is very different because we're now near the back of the garden and we're less likely to disturb people, and because this whole thing is designed to be an open area. You know, you might sit here, you might sit here, you might sit here if you really want to. So this is the perfect area to have omni-directional speakers. So every one of these traffic bollard-looking things is actually a 300-watt, 360
Exatamente,
speaker,
Rafa.
and each one has a much wider subwoofer that we've hidden below this decking area. But here is my favorite thing about this. Even though, yes, you do want to hear this sound all around this area to
Já
make it
mostrei
feel
isso,
like an open
Sky.
space, there are still
E a
areas
produção
where
tá
it makes
brutal, mano.
zero sense for sound to travel. Like, there is no extra benefit for any sound coming past this point, and the same on the other side. So, this company also makes a film that goes inside of here. We've got ours coming in a couple of days, and that will block off areas where you don't want the sound to go. So, 360 speaker doesn't necessarily...
Foda-se, vocês ouviram isto? Vocês conseguem meter uma cena dentro da coluna que é para o som e para os vizinhos, mano. Foda-se, mano, incrível. Mano,
sound. It just means that you can pick the cone of
Jesus,
sound that you
man.
need for your specific space.
grande cena, mano.
Oh yeah. Heston.
Não sei qual é que é o
blooming
preço
hell,
disto, mas
that's
grande cena.
good. I feel like a proud
Acho
dad
que ele não
moment
mostrou.
here.
Bufa e coma, anda lá.
5-second rule. Okay, so
Ah,
you remember
yeah.
how I said the Samsung Terrace TVs were really expensive? Well, there is a much more cost-effective way to build a really good outdoor cinema. So this is the XGME Mogo 3 Pro, our sponsor. And it's a little bit mind-blowing just how easy this thing
mas
makes
está
it.
mais de
So
noite.
you plug it into a power bank or the power bank stand which has a hidden battery inside of it, and then that is literally everything you need. This is the projector, which has built-in rotation. It projects at whatever angle you want with upgraded intelligent screen adaptation that corrects the image so it isn't slanted. It's a computer with built-in Google TV, so this runs all of your apps and streaming services without needing anything else. And it means I can instant AirPlay anything from my phone directly onto the screen. Plus, I mean, the thing is a stereo Harman Kardon sound system, which means that it doesn't matter what you click on, it will automatically start playing audio straight through it, but also that this thing is a separate Bluetooth speaker if you want it to be, and an ambient light if you just want to use it as that. Link below to find out more.
Já vamos ver também quanto é que custa esse projetor.
Now, the single biggest undertaking in this entire garden, though, has got to be the hot tub. I mean, you've seen what it took to get it here. But it doesn't end there. One of us will literally be out here once every 2 weeks doing some sort of maintenance to it as well. Because if we don't, it becomes unusable. You can have too little chlorine, you can have too much chlorine, you can have filter issues, particle issues, the list goes on. But
Tens de trabalhar para o jacuzzi,
the feeling of stepping into this for the first time. There is just something uniquely special about walking out into this brutal British winter, shivering your way up the stairs, and then reaching out with your nearly frostbitten fingers to reveal 40-degree water and steam like billowing up into the air. There's speakers hidden inside of here. They're not the best.
Foda-se, temos, mano, mas 25 mil paus, não nos vamos esquecer.
Something I was a little worried was going to be a gimmick, but I am so glad that I've been proven wrong, because the rolling back massage feature rules. When you step into this, you kind of naturally fall into one of the seats carved out on the inside. And then when you do, behind your back, you will have this incredibly powerful set of jets that basically
Mano, isto é
cones
qualidade
up and
de
down your
vida,
spine.
caralho.
It is massage chair quality of massage, but combined with that ethereal feeling of being in hot water.
Não, já imaginei,
in the
por isso é que eu
cold,
fiz,
also a
por isso é que eu
9.5
fiz um spot aqui em cima, no terraço que eu tenho, que fica por cima do estúdio, para ter um jacuzzi e ter também uma televisão, mano. É bem mais humilde que isto, mas imaginei ver Netflix no jacuzzi, sim, imaginei.
10. But for me, even I would say this isn't actually the highlight. The highlight is the lighting. For the last 10 years, I have dreamed of the idea of owning a garden in which I have complete control over all the lights in it, to be able to create scenes like you see in the adverts. And that is now a reality. We turned every single level of this garden into its own separate zone on the Philips Hue app, which means if I click rainbow, isn't that crazy? Can't believe it. I honestly can't believe it.
Man,
But then, let's say that you're sitting in front of the fire and you want to feel like you're just engulfed by that fire effect. Fire pit mode. You tap that once and then every single one of these Philips Hue lights will be able to mimic the natural flicker of the fire. The other really useful thing about smart lights though is that you can set schedules.
Quanta guita que ele gastou
all
em
of these
Philips
lights,
Hue,
they
isso é que é
turn
o
on
interesse que eu
when
tenho em
it gets
saber,
dark,
mano.
Then they turn off
Só
as
cá
soon
para
as you go to
fora, mano.
sleep. So they're only on in the moments you can appreciate them. But there's one more thing. Oh yeah. Whoa. I feel like I'm watching a firework display. Next video in the house series is the final video, and it's going to be pretty special.
Mano, o gajo tem mais vídeos que a gente vai ter de ver, mano. Smart Gym, o gajo é cheio de fruta, mas ganda content, mano. Ganda content mesmo, mano. Sim senhor, ganda vídeo, caralho. Eu acho que vai haver muita malta. Vai conhecer este gajo pelo vídeo que estão a ver aqui no YouTube, no Moura Clips, que acho que fazem muito bem, no Nuno Moura Clips. E subscrevam se estiverem a ver isto aí no canal do YouTube.